All right, guys, welcome back. This is Realize the Self. I'm your host, Mark, and in today's video, we're going to talk about desire. The last few videos, we were talking about 5 poisons, we were talking about hindrances, we were talking about the deadly sins, and we're going to continue on that concept of things that are obstacles along the path that help or don't help self-realization. We talked about before those things that positive attributes to cultivate and qualities like the 4 Brahma Viharas of loving kindness, compassion, 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 compassion. Make sure you cultivate that. Super important. Also, loving kindness, empathetic joy, and equanimity. Desire. So let's talk about desire a little bit today. We often speak of desire as one of the root causes of suffering, yet there is one desire that is not only harmless but profoundly beneficial. That is the desire to realize the self. This is the yearning to end suffering, to know the everlasting happiness that is our true nature. Once the self is realized, even this desire falls away, for there is nothing left to seek. All wanting dissolves in the fullness of the self. And so desire is a perpetual state of the hamster wheel of wanting more and more and more. It's like a horse with a carrot being led endlessly around in circles. One thinks they're going to be happy when they get this or they get this after they get this desire, that desire, but it doesn't work like that. Only the realization of the self will end all desires. And yet one must have a desire to want to end their suffering, to want to end that perpetual state of pain and pleasure, of duality. And so there's like 2 vectors I talk about. There's a curiosity vector, and then there's that end of suffering vector that causes a desire to know the self. And so, I mean, curiosity is kind of a desire. It's like a wondering, like, who am I? Who am I? What is this? What is that? But there's also one that stems from suffering. Two, there's a wanting or a desire to know, to end that suffering. And so we're going to talk about any other desire, anything the mind longs for may bring temporary pleasure, but it can never bring permanence. Only the realization of the self leads to lasting, unshakable happiness. Everything else in this world, without exception, offers only momentary satisfaction before fading. This is the trap of the world. Desire is constantly cultivated and reinforced by society, conditioning us to seek happiness externally. I say this over and over again. The world's a trap, keeping you externally focused when the focus should be on the self right here. On the self-realization. That's the only thing that will bring everlasting peace, happiness, joy, tranquility, bliss, love, everything. Actually, everything. It's infinity. You are infinity. You just don't know. And if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. Every day we see commercial after commercial, TV show after TV show, social media post after social media post, portraying people blissfully happy with new cars, expensive boats, exotic vacations, perfect bodies, cold beers, endless sensory pleasures. At first these things seem to bring joy, but soon the mind wants more and more, and the cycle of craving and dissatisfaction continues. Only self-realization is the true antidote. The gateway to eternal happiness. Be the self, be happy, be free. You are that. And here's a cool quote from the Ashtavakra Gita, 1821. Like a leaf in the wind, the liberated one is untethered from life, desireless, independent, free. And this is a quote from Ma Amanda Mai. Be like a child who never grows up. The only reason why the childlike state does not last is desire. And that's an interesting quote because she talks about a childlike state. So she suggests that what keeps us from a childlike state is desire, that ceaseless wanting. One want is fulfilled, another arises, then another, and another, an endless cycle never rests. True freedom, like that of a child, is untouched by this restless craving. The self is much like a child, pure, unburdened, and delighting simply in being. The metaphor of the child recurs across many spiritual teachings, pointing us back to a state of innocent wonder, effortless presence, and untainted joy, a state beyond desire, beyond longing, where the self quietly abides. And then we could get into sensory desire. So let's continue that a little bit longer since it's only been a few minutes. Let's go. There's another similarity between Gnosticism and Vedic teachings. This appears in the Gospel of Thomas, where Jesus says, if you do not fast from the world, you will not find the kingdom. That's spot on right there. If you do not fast from the world, you will not find the kingdom. He's plainly stating in that the world is a trap. The world is a trap. Fast from the world as much as you can. Stay out of the world. Seek the self within you. This is yet another hint that the world is a trap of the senses, an obstacle echoed in both Buddhic and Vedic teachings, as well as Gnostic teachings on self-realization. They taught gnosis, Gnosticism's gnosis, knowledge, jnana, in Vedic terms, secret knowledge or wisdom. In Buddhism, one of the 5 hindrances to awakening is sensory desire, or attachment to the pleasure of the senses. What we feel, taste, touch, and hear and see can create subtle and not so subtle attachments that lead to craving and longing. These cravings further distance us from self-realization. Sensory pleasures, innocent as they may seem, often become distractions that pull our attention outward rather than inward, where the self resides. The Sufis, this is interesting, the Sufis often spoke of this world in stark, even shocking terms. Oh yeah, some of the terms they used for this world, they called this world garbage, manure, or a latrine. Not out of hatred for creation, but as a deliberate reminder of the dangers of attachment. And we must talk about, too, the Gnostics, too, talked about this world wasn't created by a good God. It was created by the demiurge, a false God that captured the essence of humans and their divine spark in this world. And the only goal is to escape from that. But that's a topic for another show. We could go into that much more deeply in another show. But this is the Sufis talk about this world in not so good terms, and it's a deliberate reminder of the dangers of attachment. They practiced zuhd, Z-U-H-D, a discipline of detachment from worldly desires and excess in order to devote themselves fully to love, remembrance, and the knowledge of the self. I mean, a lot of, actually all of these ancient teachings from Vedic, Buddhist, Gnostic, and Sufis, and you could talk Greek and Egyptian stuff, mystery schools too. All these they taught the same thing, to detach from worldly desires and excess. And that's one of the quickest ways to self-realization, is by doing that. It's absolutely vital to disattach from that, to detach from that. In order to devote themselves fully to love, remembrance, and the knowledge of the self. Zuhd places spiritual aims above material pursuits, discouraging luxury and extravagance, while emphasizing what truly nourishes self-realization and endures beyond this life. And that's another great concept. So that getting caught in luxury and extravagance is a huge, huge trap. And you know, you ever stay in, let's say, a nice hotel, and once you get out of that, you're always judging or criticizing a hotel that's not as nice, or you're comparing, you know, you have that competitiveness type of mindset. So that's one thing I did notice when stuff like that happens, when too much luxury, too much extravagance, too much fancy food, all that stuff just embeds you more and enmeshes you more into the illusory nature of the world, and keeps you locked in and attached to it. And a lot of that is on the subconscious level that we don't even consciously notice. That in the Astavakra Gita, Astavakra says, if you are seeking liberation, my son, shun the object of the senses like a poison. That's another hint right there. It's another concept strongly emphasized in many ancient teachings. Sensual pleasures hook one into the illusory world, and their addictive nature generates the very opposite of stillness and causes restlessness, agitation, and longing. One seeks pleasure hoping it will bring lasting happiness, but as mentioned earlier, it becomes a perpetual hamster wheel of pain and pleasure, endlessly repeating until this life comes to an end, and with it, you miss the opportunity to realize the self that was always right under your nose. Remember, Ramana Maharshi said that man's search for happiness is an unconscious search for the true self. Instead of seeking pleasure, turn inward to its very source. Realize the self the bliss of all bliss, the essence of all joy is you. You are that. Further, the Ashtavakra Gita 1 to 1.2, 1-1.2, 1, instruction on self-realization, 1.1, Janaka said, Master, how is knowledge to be achieved? Detachment required, detachment acquired, liberation attained. Ashtavakra said, to be free, shun the experiences of the senses like a poison. Turn your attention to forgiveness, sincerity, kindness, simplicity, and truth. I'll leave you with that. Realize the self no matter what you do, as fast as you can do. That is all there is to do in this world. Always remember, you are that. Thank you for being here.